Chapter 3, The Mourning After. And I spelled that the morning, MORNING /MOURNING. The Mourning After. I woke up in the hospital, not being able to believe what had just happened. Part of me was in disbelief that I did not die, and I screwed up my own demise. The other part of me knew that I had been to a very bad place, but at the time, I did not know it was hell. Hell was only a place that I told people to go to or use as a cuss word. I did not really ever think that it was real, nor had I ever been taught anything about it. Because of my age and privacy laws of the university, my parents were not called immediately. I had to sign a waiver so that they would be informed. An ambulance bill had already been sent, so they knew something was up. Needless to say, it was not a pretty picture for them. The last they had seen, they thought I was acing my courses and everything was all right. It was a horrible experience for everyone. I recall my mother looking at me in the hospital bed and not being able to deal with what she was hearing. I was spilling my guts, telling her everything I'd been into, and I do remember saying, I went to a very bad place. My family members had the gruesome job of emptying out my dorm room and having to deal with the embarrassment of this news getting all over town where they lived. People who knew me on the campus from my hometown told other people. Fellow students who met my parents clued them in on what was going on, and they were in shock. I was taken out of school and left with much shame. All my hardcore rock and roll albums and possessions were thrown away. The next step was I was placed in a stress center located close to our hometown. Much of my memory is foggy about all the details, but I do recall the doctor telling me and my family that I had severe depression and had spots on my liver. He told them that he had never, ever seen such low levels on a test that checked for depression. I would imagine, but I'm not sure, he was talking about serotonin or endorphin levels. He described my liver as being damaged and having spots show up on the test from the rat poison and all the drugs. Even though we did not attend church, my parents and their friends had many Christians praying for me. By the time that I was released from the center, the doctor told us that he could not explain it, but the spots on my liver were gone. Thank you, Jesus. So many miracles he's done. Due to the fact that I truly dropped a bomb on them, the only thing my dad knew to do at the time was place me in a halfway house located in downtown Indianapolis. Going back home was simply out of the question. As is a common method today, the answer to my problem at the halfway house was, you guessed it, drugs. The difference being was that these drugs they wanted to give me were legal. I had an innate fear of pills, and to this day still do. I know it was because I used to witness a relative drinking large amounts of rum and following the drinks with Valium. Even the appearance of a prescription drug container scared me. I refused to take my medication or would pretend that I was and would not swallow it. I don't recall how long I remained in the halfway house, but I knew I did not want to be there very long. I started applying for jobs downtown and was hired by a sales company selling cheaper long-distance rates. The man that hired me was charming, intelligent, and good-looking. I took a liking to him immediately. As is the story of my life, God had his hand on me, and I started to sell with much success. I also had gotten sexually involved with my sales manager. The company was new and expanding, and they needed someone to open up a market in Anderson, Indiana. I was their choice, and I moved to this town. Shortly into my endeavor with this company, I had the freedom of sitting in the apartment, smoking weed, watching LaCie Broadcasting, that's Lester Summerall, Christian TV, and doing my sales over the telephone. Once again, I became obsessed with decorating my new place, and I began stealing again. I also had made drug connections, and pot was easily obtained. Little did I know that my face was known at a certain mall, and security officers were waiting for me to make my next move. It was on a Saturday, and I had things that I wanted for the apartment. I never would rip off anything sober. I always had to steal when I was high. I sat in the parking lot of the mall, smoked several joints, and walked into the shopping area. I recall loading up my purse and a shopping bag with several items. I also stole from other stores. I then went back to the car, get high again, unload the items, and go back into the mall. This went on for several hours. My last endeavor to steal was a boxed fan that I wanted. I walked out, got into the car, and attempted to leave the shopping center. However, as I was leaving, the car stalled, and I remember waving to the car behind me, "Go around! Hey guys, go around me!" For some reason, these guys weren't in a hurry to drive around my car. The car started again, and I drove into a nearby gas station to gas up. As I got out of the car, 2 undercover policemen approached me and said, "You are under arrest."